Hello everyone, and you've come to this video because you're wondering how to breed cherry shrimp. Maybe you just got them and you haven't got any breeding at all yet. Maybe you've got them and they're breeding a little bit and you want to breed thousands of them. You want to breed tons and tons of them. Well, my name is Mark, and I actually breed cherry shrimp for a living. I breed thousands and sell thousands of cherry shrimp every month, so I got to keep the constant flow going. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of my tips and tricks on how to keep your cherry shrimp breeding. Keep those numbers rolling. Keep the cherry shrimp coming out. All right, let's get going. So let's get to the first part, and that is setting your tank up for success. Now, something you're going to see me or hear me say a lot over the course of this video is stability. Stability is the most important factor. It's not exactly what your parameters are. It's not exactly how you set it up. It's that they're stable. Shrimp need stability. They need to feel safe and comfortable. And if things are always changing, then they're not going to be happy. So that means constant temperature, as constant as you possibly can. Constant water parameters, that is big. You always got to keep the water the same. You want some natural plants. You want some things. These are all things we'll touch upon later, but these are some quick tips right off the get-go. So here's some things you need to know right from the get-go. Get healthy shrimp. Healthy shrimp that are homebred are key. Key. Now, starting shrimp, that's big. That's going to determine your chances of success and failure from the get-go. If you get shrimp that are bargain basement, they're probably on death's door. A lot of these shrimp you see on that are super cheap, these are people who are importing thousands and thousands of shrimp for a nickel to a dime each, and they hope they live long enough that they can sell them for $1. That's the reality of it. Shrimp, for the majority of people out there, shrimp is a numbers game. So if you can find shrimp from a home breeder that are healthy, you're going to have a huge uptick in your chance of success. Trust me, I know. Make sure you have both genders. You gotta have boys and girls that make more shrimp. So, and starting, you want at least 10. That's what I always say, minimum 10 shrimp to get started. That's gonna hopefully get you a good mix of males and females. And like, I've had a couple times where I got 10 shrimp and only had 2 or 3 of one sex, and those few died, and I had to get more. That's not fun. And so don't stress if you're not seeing babies right away. It can take a while. New shrimp take a while to adjust to their new surroundings. Maybe your water's a little bit different. Maybe things are set up a little bit different than what you're used to. And so it can take shrimp a while to get it going. So if you're not seeing shrimp babies right away, you're not seeing pregnant shrimp right away, don't sweat it. It's not the end of the world. It'll happen eventually if you keep stable, happy shrimp tanks. So and here we are with stability again. Stable water parameters is key now. I I see a lot of people that they try to do better. They're using water, their shrimp are doing all right, but they think they can do better, and so they go and completely change the water they're putting in. Now, if you're going to change stuff, now if you've been using your tap water and you're like, oh, this is something I've seen a lot. They're using their tap water, they're getting a little bit, but they think if they get good, clean bottled water or some kind of different spring water, something that they're going to do, they're going to have better success. Well, the chances of that, I mean, stability. Now, if you go and change a whole bunch of stuff, that's going, and the water that the shrimp live in, that is the most important thing. So remember, people stress out, oh my God, my GH needs to be this. Oh my God, my pH has to be that. My KH is too high. What am I going to do? Now, there are some extreme situations where that does matter. Most people, cherry shrimp are going to do just fine in your tap water. Now, even if it's far from what the experts say is ideal, if you have good, healthy shrimp, you have a slow, steady acclimation process when you receive them, their chances are going to be just fine. Now, there are people who have horrible water. They may have some kind of toxins or something that are present, and that just makes shrimp keeping not manageable, not doable. But those kind of people with that kind of water is pretty far in between. Cherry shrimp, Neocaridina, are very, very adaptable to what they can handle. But what they don't like is it always changing, always changing. It needs to be the same as much as it can possibly be. So let's talk about what a breeding friendly shrimp tank actually looks like and what it has in it. Now, my favorite thing personally is moss, live moss. There's no better plant for keeping shrimp. In fact, the only plant in most of my shrimp tanks is moss. Now, there's lots of reasons for that. It has all kinds of surface area, absorbs nutrients. The shrimp love surface area is key because when you feed, and there's all little bits of stuff collected in the moss. Moss are scavengers, moss are grazers. They're always going around picking, doing that thing, trying to find little bits of food to eat. So, things that give you more surface area, plants with like lots of little tiny edges, little, like the moss that has little sprigs going every which direction, bundles and all that. Those are the things you like in plants. And sponge filters. Now, this is something a lot of people don't take into consideration. A lot of people that are used to keeping fish tanks, they'll have like a hang on back filter, and if you don't have something to keep the babies from getting sucked up, your shrimp might be having babies and they're getting sucked right up the filter. We don't want that. Zero predators. That's another big, big, big. Oh my God. That's so big. If shrimp are worried about getting ate, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be wanting to breed. You're not going to be able to see and enjoy them. They're just going to sit, hide, and try not to get ate. So, I know everyone likes to have some people who are not new to, are not 100% full-fledged. Now, if you're worried about breeding shrimp, you really just want shrimp in the tank. Now, there are a few, like my personal favorite. I like to keep them as like pets. For one, my wife really likes them. The bristlenose plecos, I have found those guys to be 100% completely shrimp safe. So, there's bristlenose plecos, but the caveat with those is to have you really need at least a 20-gallon tank for bristlenose pleco if it's an adult. So, and not everyone has. A lot of people's shrimp tanks will have 5, 10-gallon tanks. So that's something to keep in mind. So the next thing we're going to talk about is feeding your shrimp for breeding success. Now, I like to use a powdered food that's fairly high in protein. Now, I used to feed a lot more than I used to, but as I've gone along, I've found out shrimp really don't need that much food. Because I feed high protein food to my neos, and that the protein, it's powdered, and it helps the babies grow up fast. It helps the females get buried and have more eggs, get buried faster, gets them in the mood for breeding. And so high protein is good, but you don't want to overdo it. And some of this has to do with your water parameters. I don't want to go too deep of a wormhole into this, but feed your shrimp reasonably. Chances are you're probably feeding your shrimp too much. So, yeah, don't feed your shrimp too much. Make sure they have a good source of protein. But really, shrimp food is something that people nerd out about, and they'll buy dozens of all these different things. They'll try all these different foods. I mean, I've had some funny things happen over the years with all the shrimp I've had. Somehow, one of my dogs, they're going playing around, and one morning I walk in, and there's a rawhide bone in one of my tanks. Now, mind you, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But that happened. A rawhide bone, I go in there. Like, what the heck is this? There's hundreds and hundreds of shrimp crawling all over it. Just whatever's on that rawhide, there's digging it. Luckily, there's nothing bad on there. And the shrimp are fine. You don't want to do that. Shrimp ain't picky eaters or scavengers. So don't worry too much about food. Now, you want a good high protein food. I have my own food mix that I've come up over the years, and it's available on my website, markshellyaquatics.com. But there's plenty of good foods out there. Just don't overdo it. You might be feeding too much. If you're having a bunch of problems, don't feed too much is my biggest point here. So what does it look like when cherry shrimp breed? How do you know what to look for? Now, here's something I see on Facebook groups and newbies, people new to shrimp, asking, oh my God, what is this spot on my shrimp? Is my shrimp sick? And it'll be a saddle. It'll be the yellowish patch behind your head. And that is the eggs developing. And then as they develop, you'll see the saddle get bigger and bigger. And then they will shed, they'll molt. And that makes they'll get their new exoskeleton, the old one comes off. And that's why you see little molts throughout the tank. Some people that are new might think, oh my God, my shrimp died. But it's just a molt. So when they molt, they release hormones into the tank. And you might see all the little boys, the boy shrimp might be scurrying around everywhere doing their thing. And that means that female's molted, has released her hormones. And that means her shell is soft and they can get their sperm packet through her shell because her shell's soft because she's just molted. The males will go wild. And when the babies hatch, eventually after about 25 to 30 days, depending on temperature, warmer water will breed shrimp faster and they'll grow up fast. They'll breed faster and they'll grow up faster. When the babies hatch, for cherry shrimp, there's no larval stage. The baby shrimp just look like they're adults, like their mom and dad, except they're so little you can barely even see them. They're teeny, 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 tiny. Teeny tiny. And that's where we come back to the powdered food. I like to feed the powdered food. And all the, when we talked about earlier, surface area with the moss, you feed powdered food and all that powdered food drifts through the tank. And it all gets trapped up in the little surface areas of the moss. And then the shrimp can come through there, graze all day long, always eating. That's good. Shrimp like to eat. That make them breed better. So again, let's talk about the common breeding mistakes. And we're going to go back to stability. The biggest mistake people make is trying to make things perfect. Shrimp don't want perfect. Shrimp want the same. So a lot of new people, they'll be, oh, we gotta do this. Oh, this can be better. Oh, that can be better. Oh, this can be better. This is dirty. We gotta clean this. Oh, I don't like the way this looks. We gotta change this. Oh, no, don't do that. Shrimp like stability. Now, a lot of my tanks, you can see, you might say, your tanks look like crap. Well, the goal with my aquariums is, like I said, I breed shrimp for a living. It's not to have fancy looking show tanks. It is to breed shrimp. So I leave it alone. I set it up, I put my shrimp in there, and I let nature do its thing. The shrimp. Now, there are things you can try to improve, but really, like sometimes the tank will have a rough patch for a month or two and things ain't looking so good. They're not necessarily dying, but I'm not seeing a lot of breeding activity. And I just wait it out. Because I know what I'm doing will work eventually. Sometimes things just, not all tanks, if every tank, if I did the exact same thing on the same tank and got the same exact results every time, none of my tanks would have algae. All my tanks would have millions and millions of shrimp. So sometimes these things, it's not like a factory. It's not a machine This is life. This is the nature we're dealing with. And some of these things can come down to like the bacteria that colonizes your tank and stuff like that. So let's wrap this thing up. If you want to breed more cherry shrimp, start with healthy homebred stock that come from a breeder that bred the shrimp themselves and then go pick them up at the airport. That's big. Keep your water stable. Shrimp don't need perfect. Shrimp just like the same. Make the tank shrimp friendly. Don't make them worry about getting ate by fish. If you want to breed more shrimp, lose your fish. Even little guppies will decimate shrimp populations. Now, I have guppy tanks and I have shrimp happily breeding and living in there, but those are tanks where I'm not breeding the shrimp for a living. I'm just keeping shrimp in there because I love shrimp. The shrimp where I need to breed shrimp and I want to make more shrimp, they don't have any fish except for maybe a Brussels-nose pleco. Feed for growth, not waste. Don't feed too much. A high protein powdered food once or twice a week is all you really need. Sometimes I'll feed mine 4 or 5 times a week. And then I have like algae wafers that are not as high in protein. That I use that to get them to gather up for video content and to catch them to sell them and to sort them out. So don't feed your shrimp too much. That's going to make them not be happy. And give it time. Don't go changing stuff because you don't get results within the first day, week, or even the first month or two. These things take time. You gotta let the nature and the colony and all these things, there's lots of things to talk about. And for the scope of this video, we're just going to talk about keeping everything in harmony, not feeding too much, not changing everything. It'll all kind of balance itself out in most situations. So, if you learned anything in this video, consider giving me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know what you're working on with your shrimp in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.